Hi, this is Jason Fielder with the Daily Forex Report for November 18th. We're looking at the US Japanese Yen pair. I'm looking for this pair to move as high as 98.18 and as low as 95.04. Now look for some resistance to come into this market if it does push higher around the 97.50 mark. And if we get, if the market moves lower, look for some support around the 96.00 area. Now, what I'm looking for in this next session, we had an inside day. If you notice, a couple of our pairs did that. But this pair in particular, I'm looking at, especially on a short, basically taking a short at 95.78 area, which is a little bit lower. I do realize than this low, but I want to make sure that the market's moving. And the clever thing is, if you notice, we have this window on both of these days and on this day where the market had just pushed through. All 3 days pushed through very quickly to the upside on this session, to the downside, and then back up to the upside. But I believe that if we get a break of the 95.78 area, that we could push down to the 95.00 level. I'd look to exit at 0.3, giving a 75 pip profit. So now that's only if the market breaks this lower level. If it moves higher, we have some resistance at this point and some support in around this area. So I'm not too excited about the move to the upside, but to the downside, I am looking for it to fill this area if it breaks it. So that's kind of what I'm looking for during this next session. Let's switch over to the Euro USD pair. This pair, I'm looking for it to move as high as 1.2791 and on the lower side 1.2443. Now look for some resistance around the 12700 area, and also look for support to come into this particular pair around 125.65. This pair also formed an inside bar. I'm not quite as excited about it because from where the current market is, we got a lot further to travel than the yen, the US yen pair. But this could also be a good opportunity to either go long or short this particular pair. Let's switch over to the pound US dollar pair. This particular pair, I'm expecting it to move between 1.5200 and on the lower end 147.27. Look for some resistance though around the 150.90 area, and look for some support around the 148.90 area. Now switching over to the US Swiss pair. This particular pair we talked about yesterday, how I believe that if we got a break above the 1.2010, 2011 area, that we would see it go rather quickly to the 1.2050 area. It did move higher. It did break that level, went up to around 1.2020, pulled back. It eventually got up as high as 1.2047. However, if you would have, looked for that 39 pips, those 39 pips between these two, you would have, if you used a 1-to-1 ratio, you would have been stopped out in this particular session because it kind of zigzagged back and forth and moved high enough to get you in the trade, but pulled back, and then finally at the end of the day closed higher. But that's if you used a 1-to-1 risk to reward. Now looking ahead though, we have a I'm looking for it to move as high as 1.2131. On the lower side 118.97. Now look for some resistance around the 120.50 area. I believe we should see some if it pushes higher to that point again. And also look for some support around 1.1960 area for this particular trade. Now the pound had their CPI released for October. It's better than expected. For October, it dropped from 0.5% down to negative 0.2%. And year to date, it was down from 5.2% down to 4.5%. Overall, the pound US dollar, when the news was released, moved about an 80 pip move within an hour and a half time frame. So it did affect the market. Now, looking ahead, the U.S. has their CPI for October being released at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. The consensus is that it has dropped from 0.0% to negative 0.8% for the month of October. And year to date, it's estimated that it has dropped from 4.9% down to 4.1%. If we get a larger move than that, if the year to date is in the threes, we could see this really move the euro US dollar pair pretty quick. So make sure to tune in, take a look at that news announcement. The U.S. also has their FOMC meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Not an announcement, but just a meeting. And the Japanese yen have their merchandise trade balance totals being released for October. It's estimated that their trade balance has dropped from 88.5 billion yen down to 71.8 billion yen, which would be negative, of course, for the yen. So look possibly for the yen to move. If you recall what we were looking at on the yen real quick, that could fall right into play with us getting the large drop that we talked about earlier. So make sure to take a look at that. Well, this is Jason Fielder. Until tomorrow, good trading.